Good afternoon, YouTube world. Stephanie Jarvis here with Pacific Truffle Growers. Today we are in our Healdsburg orchard. It is raining. I am out of breath from walking up and down the hill, but today we are dealing with weed management. It is spring here and time to weed. All right, everyone. If you like my channel, please like, subscribe, ding the bell to get the whistles, and enjoy the show. Well, everyone, it is spring here in Healdsburg and it's been raining. We have had a few days with the irrigation on in between the rains. And let's see, it's May. We just added 10 times of lime and disked it in, and we're getting ready to harrow the rows to make it smooth as soon as it stops raining again and dries out. But meanwhile, the actual rows of trees need hand pulling and weed management. The best way to manage your weed is actually with a propane torch. Here in California, it is looked down upon for propane torching because of all the fires. But if you do it with a team and safety and fire extinguishers and hoses, and you go slow and you do it early in the morning, and you do it when there's zero wind, and you also do it when your weeds are tiny babies, because the propane torch doesn't really light them on fire, especially when they're fresh and wet. It just melts them and will kill them back. So propane torching is the #1 way to manage your weeds in an orchard if you do it with all safety precautions. If you don't take safety into account, then don't even bother with fire. Second way is with, of course, mowing and just tilling it in. And the third and the most labor and the most expensive way is to do it all by hand. And here in Healdsburg, we do it all by hand, because propane torching is just, it scares the shit out of the neighbors. So we're not doing it that way. So here we are. As you can see, I have a crew behind me, and we are just using shovels and picks, and we're actually turning over and loosening the soil since we just added we didn't add 10 tons. We added 20 tons of lime here at the orchard, and we tilled it in. It's almost 2 acres, so it's about 10 tons per acre. And then in between the rows, you can see still lots of white on the ground. That all needs to be forked in. Since it's such a steep hill, we're not bringing a rototiller out here. We're just going to do it with shovels and pitchforks to just work it into the top surface of the soil. So managing your weeds, tuber melanosporum, which is what we have here, the Perigord truffle, likes sun on the soil surface, and you really don't want weeds competing with your trees. As you can see, we still have juvenile trees, small trees, and we don't need weeds competing for mineral resources in the soil or for water. And this orchard still has overhead irrigation, and so what was installed was a nightmare for weeds. It's just a weed factory, and I recently installed drip irrigation, and in a couple weeks we're actually going to be turning off the overhead so that we're not just growing weeds. We want to just water the trees and allow the trees to continue growing through the season and stop the weed problem. All right. So here you can see the orchard, and the trees nice and green this year. They're getting bigger. We got the team pulling weeds. You can see that it's still pretty chunky soil. We're going to come through, harrow the soil so it smooths out. And then in between the rows, we're going to pitchfork, hand pull, and loosen the soil and pull out all the weeds. And we're just going to continue pulling weeds and pulling weeds and pulling more weeds. Orchard is looking good. Now, if you're growing Borky truffle, they like shade. And so do the burgundy and the summer truffle. They like a little bit of a closed canopy, and they can tolerate a little bit of weed coverage. If you're mowing and you're mowing it like a grass, then that's okay. We're going to be doing that here in July and August and September before we turn off the irrigation for winter. There will be weeds here. It's unavoidable, and it's such a large space, and with labor and mowing cost considerations, we end up going to just mow it like a grass. So you want to keep it low and tight to the edge of the trees as much as possible, and then 5 feet in a circumference around every tree. You want to pull those weeds out and keep that 5-foot ring free. You can mulch, but I suggest mulching with material you know where it came from, such as biochar rice hulls. It's a really good mulch and will help keep the weed population down as well. So we'll be mulching here in about a month after we're finished with all of this tilling and etc. So yeah, open canopy for your paragourd, tuber melanosporum, closed canopy for tuber aestivum, which is your burgundy and your summer truffle. Basically the same species, they just are like slightly different cultivars of each other. And then your tuber borky, your borky truffle, which is a nice, delicious white truffle. I actually prefer it over the black truffles. So they like a closed canopy also. Then they can tolerate a little bit of weed coverage. And that weed coverage actually does protect the soil from solar radiation. It actually keeps the soil surface underneath cooler, but it also competes for nutrients and water in the soil from your trees. And you really don't want your trees having to compete. You want them to get all the nutrients and water they want as they are growing, maturing, and spreading their root system. So it's a balance, you know, with any kind of farming. So that's all about weeds today. Keep your weeds out of your orchard. End of story. All right, everyone, here's the beginnings of the weed problem. You've got the seed population in the ground from last year, and they start small, but then they'll start to grow and choke out your trees. And you can see some of our trees are still very juvenile and struggling to exist. And we want to give them all the absolute opportunity to throw up whips and have a chance to thrive. So we want to get rid of, from the roots, anything within 5 feet so that these little guys can thrive. See, that guy's getting choked out, and my team will be here shortly to pull all those weeds out. So keep those weeds out of your orchard. And it's gloriously raining on the orchard. We just love it. Thank you, Mother Nature. Now we're gonna go find a rainbow. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for watching my channel, and go out and pull your weeds, mow your weeds, propane torch your weeds, whatever it takes to get your weeds under control. All right, everyone, we'll go out there, be in fungi, and if you want to reach out for a 15-minute free consultation, email and website is down below. Other than that, go be a fun guy. Enjoy the day.